Today's program evaluation is titled Evaluation of a Mindfulness-Based Intervention Program to Decrease Blood Pressure in Low-Income African American Older Adults by Palta and colleagues. This presentation is provided by Melissa C. Pierre-Gray. As an overview of the presentation, I will be talking about connections to the text. I will be providing a brief description of the program, discussing the independent variables and research design, dependent variable, the results, the limitations, an assessment of the research, followed by a conclusion. The following are connections to the text. In Chapter 9, we find selection and attrition being most pertinent to this evaluation. Chapter 10, we find comparison groups to be most pertinent to this current evaluation. Chapter 11, the term that was most related to this evaluation had to do with minimizing attrition. Chapter 12, the term cost effectiveness came up as the participants showed benefit and improvement even in the control group, and the control group actually costs a lot less to run than the treatment group. In Chapter 13, interpreting and communicating findings were most pertinent to this evaluation. This intervention and evaluation was evaluated on a mindfulness-based program called Eldershine. It was an 8-week curriculum designed to teach older adults how to manage their mental and physical health through mindfulness meditation and social and emotional skills development. All sessions were developed and implemented by an interventionist trained in mindfulness-based stress reduction through the Center for Mindfulness at the University of Massachusetts. The sessions were held once a week for 90 minutes and consisted of an opening meditation, sharing of successes, a review of home practices, a lesson to practice and apply mindfulness skills to self-care and interpersonal relationships, a guided breath meditation, a closing meditation, followed by an invitation to do specific home practices. The interventionist then provided the participants with a healthy fruit and vegetable snack. All activities were done in a group setting to allow individuals to learn and benefit from the experiences of others. The sessions took place in a group room on the first floor of the senior housing facility. Participants were seated in comfortable chairs during the meetings. Participants were called the night before as an attendance reminder, and attendance was noted on the day of each session. The active treatment modules included the following. The first week, Introduction to Mindfulness. The second week, Cultivating a Non-Judgmental Attitude. The third week, Building Self-Awareness. The fourth, Developing a Patience Practice. The fifth week, Mindful Communication. In the sixth week, Coping with Change. The seventh week, Maintaining Realistic Expectations. The eighth week, and the final week, Letting Be and Letting Go. The control group was a social support group designed to match the time frame and attention received by the intervention group. The social support group also convened for 90 minutes each week for 8 weeks. 2 research assistants guided the group by recording attendance and introducing the topic to be discussed by members of the group. But no mindfulness teachings or practices were offered during these meetings. To initiate communication among participants, the research assistants provided pre-planned conversation starters that mirror the topics and the intervention intervention group. Following the session, participants were offered a fruit and vegetable snack identical to the food served to the intervention group. The session took place in a group room on the first floor of the senior housing facility. Participants were seated comfortably during the meetings. Participants were called the night before as an attendance reminder, and attendance was noted on the day of each session. Descriptive statistics were compared for individuals in the intervention and social support groups. Frequency and percentages were used to summarize categorical data, and means, medians, and standard deviations were used to summarize continuous data. The researchers conducted an unadjusted model comparing changes in blood pressure measurements from baseline to post-intervention between the intervention and social support groups. This was followed by a multivariate regression analysis. Comparing the difference in blood pressure measurements from baseline to post-intervention between the intervention and social support groups, adjusting for age, education, smoking status, and antihypertensive medication use. Effect sizes were calculated to quantify the magnitude of the relationship between participants in the mindfulness-based intervention and the outcome variable blood pressure. As you can see, the intervention group consisted of 12 participants, and the control group consisted of 8 participants. The dependent variable was the pre- and post-intervention blood pressure scores, while controlling for age, education, smoking, antihypertensive medication use. Blood pressure was measured during a period where the participants were instructed to sit quietly for 5 minutes, while 3 blood pressure measurements were taken on their right arm, each separated by 1 minute. All blood pressure measurements were recorded, and the mean of the 3 measurements were calculated. Participants' blood pressures were measured using the Omron HEM-907XL electronic blood pressure machine with 4 available cuff sizes, from small adult to morbidly obese. Participants were instructed to sit quietly with their arm in a still position and both feet uncrossed and on the floor to ensure an accurate measurement. The results demonstrated that individuals in the intervention group exhibited a 21.92 lower systolic blood pressure compared to the social support control group, and this value is statistically significant. It is also of note, though, that the control group did show a statistically significant change in blood pressure readings as well. However, it's important to note that the active group was even more successful in changing the blood pressure ratings. Limitations of the study were that there was a small sample size because it was a pilot program. There were only 20 participants. The other limitation is contamination across study groups. Considering that the participants all lived in the same facility, there's a possibility that the participants can share what they've learned to their individuals in the control group. The other limitation had to do with selection and confounding variables, in that participants self-selected to participate in the study, and so it could be that the participants that self-selected to the study were already motivated to change and motivated to take greater measures to change their blood pressure ratings, so that may be a factor. Also, the participants did receive $25 at the end, which is a small amount. However, considering this is a low-income area, it could be that the participants who were more in need of money were more enticed by the idea that they would get $25 compared to those that would not, not be as interested. And so we have to consider that factor as well. The design of the evaluation was very good, and I found no issue with the way that the evaluation itself was conducted. I did think that greater pains could have been taken on the part of the individuals who created the program to reduce contamination. In terms of how worthwhile the evaluation was for the stakeholders, I'd say it was very worthwhile, particularly for older African Americans. The use of mindfulness has not been used assessed in the African American community, and it is beneficial if a strategy that is cost effective could be used in low income areas, because it costs nothing to learn to breathe and accept things as they are, with non-judgmental attitudes. The article itself was well written, and I learned a lot about their program evaluation strategies. I did want to know more about the specific ways that the evaluators connected with the stakeholders, and so that's something I was curious about. But overall, I'd say it was a really great, well-written article. So, in this report, I discussed the connections to the text. I provided a brief description of the program. I discussed the independent variables and the research design. I described the dependent variable, discussed the results, the limitations, and provided an assessment of the research.